Okay, our group decided to do a group based on self-esteem. We are Smoky Mountain Children's Home. It's where we'll be pitching the group. It's a children's home that is a private faith-based nonprofit agency that provides care, love, and healing to children and youth that have lost their own advocates. The mission is mandated by the Word of God. Pure and genuine religion in the sight of God and the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you. These various programs that are offered through there would meet unique needs of the children. There's many different ages, capacities, races, and socioeconomic status, as well as helping their family too. Additional information about Smoky Mountain Children's Home. It partners with several fully accredited and licensed mental health agencies to provide individual, family, and group counseling on and off campus. Some of their group therapies include independent living, alcohol and drug, and as well as anger management. All the primary funding is through the Tennessee Department of Children's Services, Level 2 continuing contracts, local churches, and private resources. So to generate group interest, our group is going to be a closed group, so it won't necessarily be a resource for the community. But if it is shared online or through other media sites, community members can also access it, and we would hope that they could also use it as well. And it could be potentially a great model to use in local schools, other religious affiliations like church youth groups, to help address the pervasive problem of bullying and improve everyone's self-esteem for our young kids. The specific needs of our clients. So low self-esteem can show in adolescents through declining school performance, anger, and unhealthy choices such as substance abuse and other destructive behavior, and their communication skills with parents and staff and peers. Adolescents are in a period of their life when many are concerned about their body image. Approximately 40% of males and 80% of females report feeling dissatisfied about their bodies at some point while in their teens. This creates a lot of psychological distress on them and has a great effect on not only their lives in general, but it also can increase anxiety and depression. And many studies show that it's associated with lower self-esteem in both during adolescence. The social and cultural factors. The youth that are placed in the agency come from all different cultures and backgrounds, but the one thing they have in common is that they are in DCS care. Youth at Smoky Mountain come through different paths: the juvenile justice, dependent, neglect, or unruly. And some youth are from Nashville and Knoxville, while others are from Mountain City or the backwoods of Claiborne County. So they really come from all over. And the population of the campus is primarily made up of African American and Caucasian youth. Some youth even report being affiliated with Bloods and Crips, but this isn't usually verified. Residential care can be difficult to grow up in for the youth, and many lack appropriate social skills while they come in. But again, living in an environment away from friends and family where it might have been a bad situation can also be helpful for many youth.
So now we'll talk a little bit about the developmental needs of potential group members. There's a significant growth and development inside the teenage brain, as we can see the diagram here. The prefrontal cortex is the decision-making part of the brain. This is still growing in the teenage brain. Its job is to plan and think about the consequences of actions, solve problems, and control impulses. Since the prefrontal cortex is still developing, teenagers might rely on a part of the brain called the amygdala to make decisions and solve problems. The amygdala is associated with emotions, impulses, aggression, and instinctive behavior. Adolescents play a critical role in the development of the self-esteem. Self-esteem, like self-worth, corresponds to the worth and respect that people assign to themselves. A teen that has good self-esteem is more likely to show positive behavioral characteristics, acting independently, assuming responsibility, taking pride in their accomplishments, tolerating frustration, attempting new tasks and challenges. handling positive and negative emotions, and offering assistance to others. Decreases in social support and self-esteem during early adolescence have been linked to disruptive effects in puberty, school transition, and other aspects of change that characterize this stage of development. Can go. This graph describes the adolescent development period during which rank order stability is relatively low, maybe an ideal target of intervention programs because self-esteem may be particularly malleable during this time of relative upheaval in the self-concept. Next slide, please. How we are meeting with clients, or how are we meeting clients' needs? Talking and listening to others helps you put one's own problems in perspectives. It can be a relief to hear others discuss what they're going through and realize you're not alone. Some studies have found that high ratings for peer-oriented domains compared with adult-oriented domains was revealed to be linked consistently to increased levels and rates of growth in externalizing problems during the developmental period. Low self-esteem can be particularly hard for young people as it's a time when you're exposed to new life events like starting high school or work and forming new friendships and relationships. Good self-esteem helps teenagers try new things, take healthy risks, and solve problems. It gives them a solid foundation for their learning and development and will set them up for a healthy and positive future. Motivation for the group. A group acts as a support network, and members can help others come up with different ideas for situations or challenges from another group member. When listening to what others are going through, it can help put their own problems in perspectives. Instead of a member feeling like they are the only one struggling with something, a member might bring up something to another who, too, is too nervous to say something. This can help members realize they are not alone, and it is a relief for many. With people's different personalities and backgrounds, there will be suggestions on how to handle situations in many different ways with a range of strategies to help. Good self-esteem can help teenagers try new things, take on healthy risks and new challenges, problem solve, and help handle both positive and negative emotions better as they move toward adulthood.
Okay, so next we're going to talk about what the purpose of the group is. So we really have three main goals that we want to accomplish with this group. The first one is to help adolescents to gain a stronger sense of self. The second is to help adolescents identify specific activities that boost confidence and competence. And the third is to help adolescents develop self-compassion so they can develop more realistic, achievable goals for themselves and treat themselves with the same kindness and encouragement that they would offer others. Next slide. And another thing another part of the purpose is we want to help adolescents identify, evaluate, and respond to dysfunctional thinking through CBT techniques using the cognitive model such as situation and event, beliefs, and consequences. Next slide. And here you'll see this chart that it kind of explains the ABCs of cognitive behavioral therapy. We ask, what is happening just before the client or the group started to feel this way, before they started having the self-esteem issues, and then what are the thoughts and images that are going through their mind while the self-esteem barriers or issues are happening, and the meanings and the interpretations of those. And then there's the emotions and the physical situations that they are in due to that, the self-esteem issues. Next. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the type of group. The group will be hybridized, consisting of socialization skills and CBT techniques. The ideas on social skills and group activities will play social skill board games, have a story or video-based discussion about emotions, have students debate on both sides of a topic, and have students team up and create and make something. As far as cognitive behavioral techniques, the leaders will help members recognize the correct automatic thoughts, thoughts through challenging these thoughts. Next. And then as far as group leadership, at the agency there will be a group for the young men and the young women. Each group will be led by 2 group leaders of the same sex. Groups are co-facilitated. Groups that are co-facilitated report greater benefits to the members due to having an additional set of professional eyes and ears to look on both verbal and nonverbal communication by the members. The members are able to bounce and reflect ideas off of each other and can also pick up on cues that one might have missed. Overall, co-facilitating groups provide better therapy for all the members involved. Next slide. And I mean, these 2 graphs here just pretty much shows that research shows that when it comes to avoiding issues in groups, there's less avoidance when there is 2 leaders facilitating the group versus the 1, as you can see on these 2 graphs. Next slide. And then the characteristics of the groups, as kind of stated before, it's going to be, we'll have 2 separate groups, one for girls and one for boys. The groups will be, their ages will be of anywhere from 13 to 17, who are currently in Smoky Mountain Children's Home residential program. Participants are African American and Caucasian and English speaking. The socioeconomic status of our clients will vary due to the kids that are in DCS custody. They're in foster care. There's no one set socioeconomic status or one socioeconomic group that falls victim to being a foster care kid. So that can vary. As far as the behavioral characteristics, Yalom states that good therapy groups begin with good client selection and expresses that for the members to potentially be successful in group therapy, they must be willing to do the following: self-disclose, give and receive feedback, look at their own behavior, and have good attendance. And additionally, they should not be in the middle of a crisis. Next slide.
So for pre-group contact and recruitment, each group member will be referred to us by their DCS case manager, Smoky Mountain Children's Homes case manager, or through mental health assessment process with their therapist. If self-esteem areas are flagged on the mental health assessment, the therapist will refer the client to the self-esteem group. Therapists will then have a pre-group meeting with members to provide information on how the group will operate and set the expectations and rules and guidelines that are expected of the members. The therapist will have members fill out a self-esteem self-report questionnaire, which measures both positive and negative feelings about the self. The scale is unidimensional and are answered using a 4-point Likert scale format ranging from strongly agree to strongly disagree. Next. And here you can see the intake assessments from Camelot. It just asks their general information, how many family members are living in their home, support system, cultural background, just to kind of get a general social history. Next. The assessment continued, asks about their alcohol and drug use. It also asks about any physical concerns, medications, just so that the therapist can get a bigger picture. Next. Then you have your assessment continued again. It asks about basic things they might be dealing with, mood instability, suicidal ideation, information like that, possible psychoses, behavioral issues, and then the therapist will create a safety plan just to make sure that if the children are in crisis, there is a plan set up for them. Next. And then you can see our self-esteem scale. Again, it asks 10 questions about self-esteem, and the kids can select from strongly agree to strongly disagree just to get a feel for where they're at. Next. Fees, funding, and confidentiality. So there'll be no fee. The youth are in DCS custody, so all the services they receive are billed through TenCare. The DCS case manager will sign a release of information, and that'll allow us to speak with all the different agencies, courts, any case managers that they have, so that we can take care of the child. And this includes participating in child and family meetings as needed. Next. Structure. So we'll have temporal arrangements, and so the group will meet once a week after school. The group will meet for just 1 hour, and there will be eight sessions or meetings. The physical arrangements, so the group members will all meet in the library on the school campus, so they'll come right after school. The chairs will be set up in a circle for the members and the leaders, and each group will have roughly 8 to 12 members.
So for the group schedule, we put together an 8-week schedule, and we sketched it out here from starting with, there's a journal that is consistent throughout the 8 weeks, and they'll do different journal questions, something like something I did well today, I feel proud when, and they'll answer those every week. And we also did vision boards in week 2 and 8 to kind of bookend to see if they can chart some progress in their self-esteem themselves. On this slide, we talk about a few other ones, self-esteem portraits, which is writing out at least 10 positive traits about the self on the inside of a person, like a silhouette. Write quotes on the outside and pass it around for people to write positive things about you. And in week 6, we did some strengths and qualities to come up with words and compliments and positive affirmations, and create a self-esteem jar, which they can pull things out of as they need. And then again in week 8, we did an I am vision board to kind of leave the group with a stronger feeling about how they feel about themselves. And then we'll do some wrap up. On the following slides, the next slide, we just broke out some of the different pieces of content a little further. It will be, the content plan, of course, will be based on CBT principles and include discussion, as we said, in type of group, and the relevant videos, worksheets, and art therapy to help increase self-esteem of participants by finding positive things about themselves. We chose art as a visual therapy to provide a representation of the participants, of their goals, and again, so they can keep them, look at them, pull them out if they feel like they need them, just as daily reminders. So after the group rules, at the beginning of the meetings, and we'll talk a little bit about confidentiality because they all do live on the same property. We'll begin with icebreaker, which we hope that the kids will interact. One is a question web, which you see the picture of right there a little bit. You just take one question and everybody answers it, and they take a ball of string, and each person holds on to their piece, and it just shows them a little interconnected. Next one. Next one is about the watching videos available online about body image, and they'll discuss those. And then we get into a vision board and doing collages. 2 vision boards on this one, really things they hear about themselves or messages they get from media, and then creating kind of an opposite true vision board about the way they feel about themselves. So the goal here is to increase their own knowledge of self-esteem and what factors influence their own self-esteem in positive and negative ways. As we said, media, messages from others. Next one is the chain. So everyone would create together a chain using strips of paper, as we've all done on trees and things, about messages they've seen or heard about themselves. The clients will take turns reading the messages out loud and tear them off the chain until all the links are broken. And then everyone will get together and create a new chain consisting of positive affirmations and compliments to themselves and the others in the group. So this is all about positive, negative feedback, the way others look at them or label them. And then we've got the artist trading cards, which is little, as you see, little wallet-size pieces of art that they create that they can carry with them to kind of remind them of how they feel and their positive qualities when they're outside of the counseling environment. The students can come up with an idea or an image or a word that reminds them about a positive accomplishment, characteristic, or trait that they see in themselves or have been told by someone else that they have. And then using the art materials that we will provide, they'll create a little piece of art, and they can do whatever they want. They can use images, letters, words, poetry, drawings, and it's something that they can actually sign and title, date, and sign, title, and date, so they can keep it and kind of have an idea of where they were at a certain point in their life, and just a little something to help boost self-esteem in the outside world. And then we have got the fan mail, everybody would write, the leaders would write the youth's name on the top of different parts of papers, and then everyone in the group will start with the paper with their name on top, give themselves a compliment, and then pass it around so everyone can write a compliment anonymously. And of course, this is so that, the youth can feel better about themselves and have a cohesive group because everyone is supporting everyone else. And we've got tons of supplies, everything they would need for all these art projects, arts and crafts, but we'd also have a workbook with activity handouts, quotations, reflective questions for journaling, as we talked about, and educational handouts. The journals, the youth could actually create themselves, and we'll have everything they need to do that and do all the art projects.
For evaluation tools, we want to know if our group's effective, so the students will fill out 2 questionnaires that evaluate levels of self-esteem. And the questions will be given before the students begin the group session, and then will be given after the last group session to complete. And it'll show any improvements they may have had during their time in the group. And we chose to use these 2 questionnaires because they are age appropriate for the students. They ask simple questions, and they will also show improvement by using a similar scale to the ones we discussed earlier. Next. And you can see they ask simple questions for the kids to answer, and then they can give it 1 for not true at all or 4 for exactly true, and then we can calculate the number and see how well their improvement went. And it continues on the next slide. And again, it asks some more questions about if they can figure out, if they have the ability to handle difficult situations. And again, they do the not helpful all the way up to very helpful. And then if it doesn't apply to them at all, they can do that as well.